Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Marketplace. My name is Darryl Kwao. Coming up, to partner or not to, former President John Mahama describes any move to cede 66% share of Kotoka International Airport to a private firm as wrong. Also coming up, we take a look at the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on infrastructure development in a special interview with the Ghana Institute of Engineering. Also this afternoon, Ghana Tourism Federation calls out open spot and bar operators flouting COVID-19 standard operating procedures. More on those stories and others coming up in this half hour of business news. You stay with us. On to the bulletin, we begin with comments by the former President John Mahama on the management of the Kotoka International Airport. He has described as wrong plans to give out 66% ownership of the airport to Turkish firm Tam Suma Consortium. In an interview with Wezo and XYZ TV at Kitikwache, the former president indicated that his administration had put in place the necessary payment plans for the newly built Terminal 3 to settle its indebtedness.
I saw a strange, development where a Turkish company is being given a concession to take over the airport and run it. The concession is a disguise. Behind that, in the period of the concession, 66% of the ownership share of the airport will be transferred to the Turkish company at a cost of $70 million. Even if you
to $600 million as
investment and a value of in excess of 5 billion CDs, I mean, for $70 million, we're giving 66% shares of our airport, to a Turkish company. And so I said, we're against it. It is wrong. Every country's airport is its pride. You can have a management agreement to get somebody to manage it properly for you, and based on that, you pay them a certain, amount of money. But this is not an ordinary management agreement. They're going to get 2% of the revenues as management fee. In addition, 66% of the ownership share of the airport is going to be transferred to them for $70 million. And I think that is absolutely wrong. Even if you sold some of the lands around the airport, you'll be able to raise far more than $70 million. So if it's $70 million we want, the other ways of raising it, the value of the lands around the airport alone are far in excess of $70 million. And I think that is wrong to give up our airport like that. They talk about not being able to service the loans that were taken to develop the airport. Now, I just want to tell this government, in any agreement, there are clauses for force majeure. It means that if there's an act of God or an act of nature, that makes it impossible for you to fulfill your obligations.
Like COVID-19.
At the time these loans were contracted, nobody knew COVID was going to happen. And COVID is affecting all airports around the world because it's affected aviation. And so all you need is to trigger the force majeure clauses and let the financiers know that, look, this is a situation that has arisen. And normally in those circumstances, they are able to, make some concessions. Aside from that, these loans are insured anyway. And so if government hasn't triggered force majeure, the way to go is not to try to sell off the airport, but to engage the financiers and have a rescheduling.
While the former president there, his thoughts on how KIA should be managed, well, the aviation minister, Kofi Adda, in an earlier interview with Joy Business's Charles Ite, indicated the partnership would better position the aviation sector to be profitable.
I think going forward, we have to look at any of the strategic partnership. And that should bring a lot more to Ghana Airport Company. And so that was something that we're looking at in terms of what we really do with any entity that sees potential in Ghana, that wants to be part of the operations of Ghana, Ghana's aviation sector. How do we engage you? what areas can you bring in to further enhance the development of the aviation sector in Ghana? What can we do to meet you halfway on that? And how do we go together as partners? These are things that have been on the table, that have been talked about over the years. And on this recent thing about the Turkish company, it's not now. They came in about 2017 to look at what they can do. And that is based on what the president said about setting up the ministry on its own, about creating Ghana as the aviation hub for the sub-region. And they see all the good policies of the government and see the prudent management of the economy as good reasons why they should come to Ghana. And being operators in the aviation sector, airport management and infrastructure development in other parts of the world, over 50 countries, they figure, oh, maybe Ghana is a door opener to Africa. So let's come and put in our pitch and hear what Ghana has to say. Then they came about 2017. So engagement in terms of informal engagement has been on, expression of interest and so on. I came in and found some of those expressions of interest. We moved on further to sign an MOU with them, Memorandum of Understanding, for them to, as an indication of what it is that we can engage ourselves in. The next step was for us now to get approval from.
All right, you're watching The Marketplace. Let's now turn attention to the impact of COVID-19 on infrastructure, many infrastructure projects. But engineers in Ghana are confident of massive transformation if government prioritizes them over foreigners. As the borders remain shut, President of the Ghana Institute of Engineering, Alex Leslie Ayer, tells Charles Aite government must look within.
What happened was we decided to work 24 hours. Coming up with ideas, looking at the optimum means of doing that. The military came in and then worked together, and that was a product. Yes.
Interestingly, when the vice president was delivering his speech, at the commissioner, he made a very touching, remark. The fact that you're able to master up so much, so little. And the cost, it was very cost efficient as compared to if they could go for a regular, pricing, the amounts could have doubled. How were you able to pull this off with such limited resources, with such efficiency?
Well, you had the private sector who came in. You had the private sector who came in. Some of the financial institutions also came in. Everybody wanted to help. So that money was available. And we looked at the most efficient ways of building. And as I said, the normal procedure is to do the design, look at it, see what corrections that can be done, before you invite bids for a contractor to come in, etc. We didn't have the luxury of doing that. So we did what they call the rolling design. You build as you design. So as the requirements were coming in, we were adapting, correcting things, and make sure that this was done. We had the cooperation of the contractor, the cooperation of the project management team, the architects, the engineers, the quantities of years to let us know where we are going in terms of costs, etc. And that's how we're going to come up with this. And incidentally, we had heard that these things have been done in China. There's a lot of talk about the Chinese having done this. But I'm afraid what they did were tents. This is something wonderful which has been done. And in fact, we've had people from other African countries wanting to do the same thing. They call us the pace setters, because we've had, over the weekend, for instance, I had a phone call from Zimbabwe, and they want the concept paper, they want to do it. We've had We've spoken to people from Rwanda and other countries, and they're all very interested in getting this done. We'll be able to share this with other people. I believe that this is going to be reciprocated, and it's going to be done in Kumasi and in Takoradi and in Tamale. And I would say go and look at it, and it's a fantastic thing.
It's interesting you say that out of a test comes a testimony. Does it therefore suggest that the engineering community gets more innovative in times of crisis?
Well, in times of crisis, you know, if a lion is chasing you, I think you would beat what's his name, Bolt, in the 100 meters if a lion was chasing you. Yeah, so we just had to get that done. You know, there's a lot of innovation. We seem to take we have this background thing. You don't need to come out. A lot of these young people are doing some fantastic things, and which will help Ghana leapfrog into the community of big boys.
Do you feel left behind as, you know, as a community of engineers? Do you feel left behind when it comes to government or Ghana's developmental agenda? Because time in and time again, we keep seeing the foreigners come over, determining the plan of specific structures and everything. We see the Chinese coming over, we see the Europeans. Do you feel left behind as the indigenous engineering society of Ghana?
Well, sometimes we do. And we've had 2 meetings with His Excellency the Vice President, and then he is concerned about that. And he did promise that, for instance, I think that the hospital is going to be built, and they're going to make use of the local consultants and contractors. He's very concerned about that. I think government wants about 70% of the work to go to the locals. Having said that, you know, when you have monies coming from...
Right, so do catch the full interview with the Ghana Institute of Engineering. You saw there Engineer Alex Leslie Ayer, who is president, on Business Live at 5 p.m. Charles Aite will be exploring the impact of COVID-19 on infrastructure and other matters concerning that part of business. Now, the latest COVID-19 business tracker of the Ghana Statistical Service shows more than 100,000 firms, mostly in the hospitality industry, have had to close down either temporarily or permanently. From huge debts to employee layoffs, many of the affected businesses are yet to find their feet and bounce back to operations. My colleague Manuel Kwanting has been talking to a restaurant manager and has come through with this report.
So at the Saba Dining Hall at the University of Ghana, operated by Maxi Kitchen Services and Restaurant. It's a contest between cobwebs and dust on who gets to rule over the entire space that has been left behind. As one of the most popular eateries on campus, it played host to thousands of students and university staff daily. With the arrival of COVID-19 and the closure of schools came the exit of its patrons. Gabriel Nyako is the administrator of the restaurant.
Most of the students around all the hostel comes here to eat because it's an old restaurant here. We first have our COVID in campus here, one person had it. So that's where the university has to send all the students away. So automatically we have to also shut our place down.
Just as everyone else, Gabriel did not see COVID-19 coming. So he stocked up as usual, only it will be the last in a long while.
Even for the chicken that we bought, some is about 35,000 that we have to pay bit by bit. Even the rice itself is around 12,000. The perishable goods, in a day we normally spend about 5,000 to 7,000 for those ones. Yeah, everything goes. This fridge that we see, everything was stock.
Okay.
So as they come and they expire, then we start removing them. We have the person who's in charge of that.
Okay.
So the whole place was stocked with our staff. So as you can see, everything that was in has been thrown away. It's a rented place that we have been here for over 25 years. We've paid for almost half a year. Now we are talking to them. We are negotiating so that we pay bit by bit, so that as little that people also owns or brings in, then we just slash it out and spread it along.
But the woes of his company do not end there. It's a double jeopardy if you add employee demands. Gabriel tells me he's yet to access government stimulus package, even after applying a while ago.
We are yet to get a feedback. And there's a process that you have to go through. If you have an association, you can do that through the association. But we did it as individual.
As an individual.
Yes. So here alone, we have about 50 plus.
In just this
this place.
Okay.
And at the sports directorate, we have about 10.
Okay.
They are also gone. Then we have the one that's on contracts.
Okay.
When there's a program that is around 20.
Okay.
So they are all 100 people.
Almost all of them.
So as we trying to start now, we just left with about less than 10 people now working with. So it will be very difficult for us to get and pay them. So we recently, I even wrote to the GRA to give us a space of time to pay our staff payees.
As government continues to ease the COVID-19 restrictions, Gabriel, like many others in the hospitality market, hopes for an opportunity to return to business ways.
Like for example, the math and science that's supposed to become on June, I mean, that one also has been cancelled due to that. When this corporate event that takes 3 days, because University of Ghana is a big community, and we also benefit from those things. So if those one can be released or to a certain number, conferences to a certain number, it will help us. And also praying that maybe by September, students will be allowed to come back to school.
And that is one of thousands of businesses in the hospitality industry affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. In another development, the Ghana Tourism Federation has called out open sport and bar operators who are failing to adhere to COVID-19 standard operating procedures. The research and advocacy team of the Federation, led by its Executive Secretary, Emmanuel Frimpong, embarked on an exercise to monitor adherence. Mr. Frimpong joins us now with more of what they discovered. Great to have you on the marketplace. Should be pretty disappointing that bar operators are failing to adhere to protocols. What did you see?
It's quite disappointing because we're not expecting to see the operators flouting the laws. We went out on Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday I went just myself. But what we saw was that, in fact, we went to places in Awushi, Dansoman, Kaneshi, Sakumono, Spentes, these places. And virtually everywhere we went, the first thing we saw was that the Veronica bucket that was supposed to be stationed at certain places, most of them didn't have it. People walked in, walked out without their nose masks, no hand sanitizers. I mean, people were just flouting on all the health requirements that has been put out that they should adhere to. And we were quite disappointed, I must say. So what we quickly did was to find out if that is exactly what is happening in other regions. I called the central region, western region, and then northern region. And the information we had was that it is almost the same thing happening there. So we have already called GTA to quickly step in and see what we can do. We have also put out, as you are aware, a press release calling our members. What they are telling us is that those who are involved in these practices are actually not members of GHATOF. But at the end of the day, they are all operating, and we say that they have to adhere to their health requirements.
And so I want to get it. Is it the case of ignorance based on your interaction with them?
I don't want to think so, but one particular manager okay, I wouldn't want to mention a place. He sounded ignorant, but that would be surprising because this campaign has been going on. We have been educating our members, and so I wouldn't want to say it's ignorance. Of course, we have to put in a bit more effort in educating people because we haven't done much as far as educating them is concerned. But I think people should be aware by now.
And so the issue of monitoring comes up. You mentioned the fact that most of these businesses you visited are not members of GHATOF, but whose duty is it to monitor and to ensure that they are being regulated?
It is the duty of the regulator, that is the Ghana Tourism Authority. As a matter of fact, yesterday I got in touch with the person responsible for quality assurance, Mr. Boache, and he assured me that they are in touch with the national security and then the police to look at how best they can really clamp down on such operators. So I'm sure in the next couple of days, there will be some action taking place.
And what do you suggest in terms of sanctions?
The sanctions are there. If GTA gives you a license to operate as an open spot or a bar operator, and you flout, they can close you down. They can take you to court. The president also has said that police also have the right now to, if they come and you are not wearing your nose mask, you can be arrested. So the laws are there. We just have to implement. That is the challenge in Ghana. We make all the laws, we make all the regulations, but the implementation is a problem. So we are going to engage GTA to also try as much as possible to educate those who may have not probably gotten the right education. We're hoping to get them the right education so that they can all put all these health regulations in place at their workplaces.
All right, I wish you all the best with that. Hope something good comes out of it. Thanks very much indeed. Emmanuel Frimpong is Executive Secretary of the Ghana Tourism Federation, reporting on some concerning news over there. And I think we have some time to squeeze in this economic news. An economist with the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Augustine Fosu, is warning suspension of the Fiscal Responsibility Act could negatively affect the country's credit rating. Parliament approved the suspension of the rules for 2020 based on the COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused a budget deficit of more than 5%. Professor Fosu believes government may have to do a lot more work to convince credit rating agencies about its commitment to fiscal prudence.
I think that so far Ghana has done quite well in terms of meeting the fiscal responsibility targets. Before COVID, we were actually moving quite close, around maybe 63%, and it was targeted to be met, actually. So COVID came along, and the target now cannot be met, no doubt about that. So as I indicated earlier, by 11 percentage points above the target to 76% of GDP. So we have to justify to the rest of the world that indeed COVID-19 is responsible for this difference. Otherwise, we can have adverse effects on the economy in terms of the interest rate premium that we have to pay in the capital market. And that, of course, means that there will be less funds available for capital expenditures, for various programs, including free SHS, and so on. It is quite critical that whatever funds that are utilized to meet the difference, to make up the difference, that those funds are utilized efficiently.
All right, and that's the marketplace this afternoon. Thanks for watching. More news, as always, on our website, myjoyonline.com/business.